Okay, welcome back everyone to our second lecture on BC310, Church and Ministry Administration. So like we were, in the last class, we emphasized the importance of having standards, guidelines, and policies, right? So policies, like we said, what we would do in different scenarios. Guidelines for all our volunteer teams. We have guidelines even for how different teams work. We try to document this as guidelines. So this is how you should be functioning. And then we have standards. So especially for example, for our graphics and media team, there are certain standards. Like, okay, example, for every Sunday we have for our Sunday sermon, we have to create. So when I send the sermon title, we have to create graphics for so many platforms. Like I think about for one Sunday sermon, there are 14 different, the same sermon graphics, but 14 different sizes of graphics are created for our website. And even for our website, there is a different size for like a placeholder thumbnail kind of thing. Then for the YouTube, for Instagram, Facebook, for our emailer. So many different sizes, and these are all standard sizes, but so many different sizes of the same graphic has to be done. And how the text on the graphic has to be put, for example, if we put the date as 11, what was August? 11/08/2025. For us, we understand it means 11th of August, 2025. But in other parts of the world, for them, month. So they will think, oh, that is 8th of November, 2025. So it's very confusing. So long back, when we were establishing these standards, we said everywhere we put dates, it should be in international format. That means you put the day like 11, then you put the month as 3-letter AUG. So 11th AUG 2025. So that way, no confusion. Whether people in India read it or people in America read it, it means the same thing. Correct. So like we established these standards long time ago that when you do any content you do, which you're putting out online, internally, yeah, okay, we communicate to each other, we understand, but anything that's going out on public, all dates must be in international format because we don't know from which part of the world people are seeing this. They need to be able to see, correctly. They need to understand correctly. Right? So simple things like this can mean a lot. We may not think, oh, I'll just put the date as, 11/08/2020, but it means something different for somebody else, right? So we have to adopt these kinds of standards. And then, standards in terms of best practices. Okay, what is the best way to do something? We want to adopt industry best practices in the way we do our own work, and things like that. So, for example, like, okay, try to avoid spelling mistakes as far as possible in anything we do, right? Again, if it's internal between you and me, okay, you type a WhatsApp message, spelling mistake, that's okay, it doesn't matter. But when something is going public, right, try to be even more careful. We want to, as far as possible, there should be 0 spelling mistakes. I mean, yeah, we understand sometimes things do happen. But for example, in our Sunday lyrics, there used to be a time when we'll have, you'll be looking at Sunday lyrics and there'll be spelling mistake in what is being projected. And then sometimes God will be with a small g, or when it is supposed to be son, referring to Jesus, it'll be with a small s. So then some years back, we said, whatever you project, make it all in uppercase. So that's why you'll see all our lyrics are all in caps. Why? For this reason, that you avoid, sometimes when it's supposed to be capital J, it'll be small j for Jesus, or God, small j. So if you put everything in caps, at least you're escaping that mistake. Of course, you still have to check spelling mistakes. So we adopted that as a standard, that when we put lyrics, just put it all in caps. So one chance of error is reduced. Also try to check spelling mistakes, all those things, So these are standards we try to, we introduced in various areas, and in order to make sure that things are done well, and we follow. Now, let's get into some details. Bottom of page 16, staff and consultant guidelines. So you'll find this on that page that I mentioned, apcw.org/guidelines. So what we have is this. When we interview somebody, and we go through the interview process and we decide to offer them a job, we give them an offer letter. That means it's written down. This is your role, this is your start date, this is whom you'll be reporting to, and this is your starting salary. And then we also attach with that their role description. That means this is what you're expected to do. Now we understand that that role description will change. Like, it's not a constant, right? Because the organization is growing, the individual is growing, and things around us are changing. So obviously, role will keep changing, will keep evolving. There'll be new work added and some things taken off and all that. So that change will always be there. But at least when you're starting, this is what you're starting with. This is the tasks you're expected to work on. And definitely it will change over time. And also we have what is called as a APC staff and consultant guideline. So it's like our HR or our employment handbook, right? So we send it to the person when we're giving the job offer. Before you even accept the offer, read these guidelines. We want to see if you're okay with it. If you're not okay with it, then nobody's forcing you to take the job, right? So we're offering you a job. We're giving you an offer letter. This is your role description. This is what you're joining us for. But here are our staff guidelines. It's all our staff or people who are working part-time are called consultants. They are expected to follow these guidelines. So it's all written. It's like about 20 pages or something. But it has everything in it. Example, code of conduct. Now that you're a church staff, we expect a certain conduct. Like example, no smoking, no drinking. So imagine someday I'm working for church staff and they're smoking, or I am a staff at APC and they're drinking or whatever. That is not acceptable. You say, well, that doesn't affect my job. Well, it does for church, right? Outside, nobody cares. Like you go work for some company there, they don't care whether you smoke or drink. That is your problem. But for church, cannot. It becomes a problem, right? So, but I'm very good in my work. Yeah, you're very good in your work. But if you smoke and drink, that is part of our being a church staff. That is, you cannot. That your conduct is. Right? We cannot accept that. Right? So those things are all written. We have to write it down. Otherwise, you say, "Oh, you never told me I can't smoke." So it's there in the document. You signed it before you joined us. You signed it, right? So things like that. Conduct is important. Your testimony is important. Even your church stuff. You may be sitting and doing IT work or media work, but still, these things are important. And then, of course, other practical things like how many days you can take leave. What are our work hours? How many days in a year you can take sick leave? It's all written down. So it is the same for all our staff. Means in a year, I think it's, I may not remember these numbers correctly, but I think we have something like 6 days of emergency sick leave. We have something like, I think, 11 days of, I don't know, casual leave, and everybody gets 3 or 4 weeks of leave every year. Something like that. It's all written down. So it is applying for us, all our staff. Everybody gets this. So you plan how you want to take your leave, etc. All that is fine. But this is the written there. So in a year, you can take so many days of vacation. In a year, so many days of sick leave. In a year, you can so many days. So it applies to all our staff. Right? It's all written down. That way, there is no confusion. Right? And it is all, like we said, it's all recorded in the HRM. Everyone is reporting. You know, you have to apply for leave. It's recorded. We know how many days leave you have taken. So how many days leave you have left. Right? Everything is, it is fair for everybody. Right? So we have these staff and consultant guidelines, which are given. So in that guideline also, workplace policies are there, and how we work with each other. Also, interaction with the external entities. So in that same guideline, for our volunteers, how you relate to people in the church. Right? So for example, we do not want any of our church staff or people whom we have put in leadership in the church to engage in certain activities within the church community. Example, they shouldn't start promoting some business or something else in the community, in the church community. Why? Because when they are in leadership, people automatically respect them. And also, people have the assumption that if they are promoting it, it means church is promoting it. So, very strict thing. No engaging in any business dealing, borrowing money from church people. As if you're a church staff, if you are in a leadership position in the church, you're not supposed to be doing these things. So we have put it down in writing, both for our staff and also for our volunteers. The guidelines are there, right? Because we've seen problems happening like this, where somebody in leadership, maybe a pastor, maybe a volunteer team leader, if they start promoting or they start doing something, people automatically think, oh, it's the church is doing this. And they respect it, and then sometimes, bad things can happen, right? So we have, policies on how you interact within ourselves, and also with when we engage, when as a church, when we engage with external entities or with landlords, everything is documented. So, example, we're renting this building. So we have a contract, we have a lease agreement with the owner of this building. It's all written down. We don't say, oh, you're Christian, I'm Christian, come, we're all friends, hello. Of course, we are Christians, they are Christians. Yes, we are friends. But when it comes to money matters, let everything be written down. Now, I remember, and these are real stories I've heard, like one pastor here in Bangalore, he was sharing with me. They were meeting in a place, and some member in his congregation said, Pastor, I have a place, you come and take. I'll give for free. You come. Pastor is very happy. He's getting a bigger hall for free. So they collected money, they did up the interior. They put a lot of money, several lakhs of rupees, into doing the interior, fans, lights, painted everything. Put first floor of a building. Then the church moved. We're feeling very happy. I'm getting this for free. And after a few months, Pastor, I need the place back. We've put in lakhs of rupees to do the interiors. But nothing is there in writing. There is no lease agreement, nothing. Just because of word of mouth, he has done all this. Now that man is saying, I need the place back. Of course, he can't undo the painting and he can't undo all that investment he has put inside the floor, lakhs of rupees to do the interiors. He can't just take it out. Where he'll go with it? This man said, I need the place back. Gone. So much money gone. But he's a church believer. Of course, he's still a believer and all that, but there's no agreement, nothing. So he's feeling so bad. He's feeling hurt. But this is reality. He has to give the place back. This place belongs to the other person. He wants it. Gone. He has to go somewhere, find another place. I said, okay, now you better make sure everything is in writing. You have a lease agreement. And just 2 weeks, 3 weeks back, maybe, one of our Bible College, he graduated. So he started a church. Yeah. So he was very excited. Pastor, I got a place. And I said, hey, have you signed it? Signed the agreement. Very important. Don't go inside a place without signing the agreement. Don't go. So, no, Pastor, he's a very good man. He wants to give it for church. So all that is nice. But first, you make sure you sign a lease agreement. Everything has to be in writing. Because otherwise, after 2 months, 3 months, he said, I changed my mind. I need the place back. By the time you've invested so much, like you've done the place, painted the place, all that. So it is better to have everything. So we have, and even when we're working with other vendors, we sign what is called as a vendor services agreement. That means these people who come and provide us all these LEDs, whatever these things we rent, sometimes some vendors we rent every week, certain things. We have vendor service agreements with them, how we want to work with them. So everything is clear. So all of these things we sign. Like we have caterers here, Sharon caterers, they bring food. Sign agreement with them, vendor service agreement. So everything is documented on paper, and then we start working. Of course, Sharon Caterers is owned by believers. They're good people. But when you're doing business, you have to document. Nothing by word of mouth. You're my friend, I'm your friend. Let us pray together and start. Okay, you pray together and start, but also sign the agreement. Because after prayer, we don't know how you will change. So everything, we do it like this. Right? So we don't get into trouble. And that's the same thing we tell even all our outreach pastors. When they want to rent a place, same thing we tell them. You first get everything signed, only then you move in and start. Same thing for all our volunteer team guidelines. We have these, how we do things, so on. And then standards for all our work that we do, emails, so on and so forth, right? All of this, as far as possible, we have documented it and I've shared the link with you. So, question. Is this legalism? Pastor, we are under grace, not under law. Why are you writing everything down? You're giving us all these guidelines, policies. What do you think? Is it a good thing? Is it can this be thought of as being legalistic? What do you feel? Wisdom. But some people say, oh, you're so controlling, everything is written down. No freedom. What do you feel? Especially volunteer teams. We are coming to volunteer and you're telling us to follow these guidelines. Yeah. So I think, like you said, everything is documented, and somebody wants to do their job well, they'll appreciate it. That it is documented. This is how we're supposed to do the work. And yet at the same time, we do have some flexibility. Right? These are our guidelines. Right? Sometimes we'll run into a scenario that we have not thought of or experienced before, something new. Then, of course, we will reference the guideline and then try to make a best decision. Right? It's not like the guideline has already answered every situation. Because some situations may be just new. We haven't faced it before. What do we do now? So guidelines are there. They help us to think in a certain way. But there is flexibility, creativity, room for creativity and flexibility, because we cannot account for every situation. Some things, new things will happen. That's where we have to be creative. We think about something new. Okay, how do we do this? Or shall we come up with something, a new policy? Right? So there is always room for growth, always room for creativity and change. And sometimes we can go back and change an old policy. Like, yeah, that's how it used to work in those days. But now things have changed. So let us change the policy. It's okay. We can change it. It's not like it's the law or set in stone. Yeah. Okay, let me just pause here. Any questions from online or any comments from those with us online? So, yeah, so the question is, how often? So we don't have like a set thing that, okay, every year we have to rework. I think what, at least what we try to do is when we do encounter something new, a new situation, and so then I do tell whoever the concerned people are, please go and update the guidelines for that ministry based on this. Add this to that. When we run into something new, which we didn't think of before. So, okay, I think we should add this to that. So, example, our HR document as staff, and that's probably updated every year, because something comes up every year in working with our own staff and volunteers. So those staff guidelines or volunteer guidelines, I think are updated every year. Something we will change, something we will add. And so like our HR, Phoebe, is responsible for that. And so I think, on an average, at least 2 times a year, she'll send me an updated document because we've added something, we've made some change based on some new things that have happened, some new scenarios. So those documents get updated very regularly. Other documents as needed. And I do realize there are some documents which need to be updated, but we haven't had the time to sit down and rework those, because it takes time. So I know there's like a pending list of things that need to be done, but yeah. Question?
So regarding this writing down like in document, what will be a good answer, Pastor, for like if we are starting something with very good relative or very good friend, so we are asking to write them down, like we wants to write it down, but they say like don't you trust or like, so what be the good answer so that they don't feel anything?
Yeah, true. Or what we can tell them is, you can say, both of us understand, but there may be new people joining us. So it is good for them, for the future, right? So between us, maybe we have understanding how to do this ministry. But it is good to document. One is, even for us, we shouldn't forget, right? Even our own memory, sometimes we ourselves might forget, right? That, this is what we discussed. So for our own benefit, and also in the future when some new people join us, we can tell them to read this. So it makes it easier. So you could use that as an explanation, especially if you're planning to grow. And can we use any church management? So there's a question here. Can we use any church management software, accounting software to help us to manage Definitely, Biju. So I will share with us a little later what we use at APC. So we, for our managing our church contacts, like the people information. Right now we are using what is called as Rock RMS. It's an open source church management software. We've been using that since 2018. But we're also building our own so that we can move away from it. And I'll explain, a little later why we do that. But that's available. There's an open source Rock RMS. It's a good product, and it's available. So we're using that. For accounting, we use Tally. So we'll discuss these things as we go. For SMS gateway, we used to send out SMSs. Right now, we're focusing on WhatsApp. So we use Wati as our for all our WhatsApp. The plan is to move away from SMS and WhatsApp and just do everything through mobile, and we're working towards that. But definitely, using these tools will really help us, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Fine. We'll stop here for today. Next week, we will pick up on chapter 6, where we'll talk about putting systems and processes in place, right? Like, how do we put different systems in place for the church organization. What I would encourage you to do, everyone, is to go to apcw.org/guidelines. Just take a look at it. You don't have to read everything. Just see, okay, it's there. These are the kinds of documents. These are samples you can take and reuse. Like this, we even tell other pastors and, they say, hey, just take whatever you want and use it. Change it, modify it, use it. All our role descriptions are also there. So if you're hiring somebody, if you're going to hire somebody in a certain role, you can take this, change it, use it, and so on. And we'll continuously keep this updated. So in the future, when you start your ministries or running your church and you want some document, you can just come here and see what's available and make use of it. Just modify it, change it to you what you need, and use it. Okay. All right. We'll close here for today. We'll pick up with the next chapter next week. Thank you.